Alright, we're gonna talk about Hippocrates and his history and who he was, what he did, and what he has led his discoveries to up to today. So Hippocrates was born in 1460 BC in Kos. He was known to be the father of medicine because Hippocrates believed that his way of dealing with patients was he would look at the people who were sick that come to him and he would just have them sit there and observe them the way they do physical exams these days. It's kind of based on him. They would look at the patient starting from his face, he would look at their eyes, their nose, their mouth, and see if there's anything wrong, and then he kept continuously examining them, the rest of the body. And based on that, he would determine what was wrong with them and see if anything helped, if anything changed. So that was kind of his belief. And he also believed that doctors and priests shouldn't have the same kind of work, they should do different things. For the fact that priests believe that if you got sick, let's say epilepsy, they would think back in the days, they would say that it was the gods doing that. If you died from it, it was the gods punishing you. As for the doctors, they would say it's a natural illness or cause that caused it. So based on that, Hippocrates just didn't want to associate with the priests or do anything they had to do. So there's this papyrus paper that they used to use back in the ancient Greek, and that's where among the 60 medicine books that were written back then, some of them were written by Hippocrates. And Hippocrates kind of tells us a little bit about the cancer and its discovery. Even though he wasn't the one who originally discovered it, there were so many people that really discovered it before him, or even though they didn't know what it was, that knew about it, they never got credit for it. But because of Socrates and Plato, who were other writers who wrote about him, he became famous and got the fame. And he named the cancer cell that he saw carcinoma. He was the one who gave the name carcinoma, and that meant, in the Greek, it actually meant crab. It looked like when the cancer is elongating and it's becoming larger, it looks like a crab, so he named it based on that. And he had a theory about how we got cancer or how cancer originates. He believed that there are four body fluids. One of them is blood, yellow bile, black bile, and phlegm. And his belief was that if the black phlegm became more and wasn't balanced, it would cause cancer, or it would lead to the cancer cells. Based on his theory, it was believed for so many years that went on and on. And so at some point there was autopsy that was discovered, which people weren't sure about how our blood circulated. So in 1628, Harvey used to understand the autopsy to see how our blood circulates. And based on that, in 1761, Giovanni used to discover the cause of death. So that's how they kind of discovered the cancer cells on the mummies that they were looking at to see what caused their death. So there are some more theories that kept on developing, and the lymph theory was the one that replaced what Hippocrates said about the black bile going on. The lymph theory was saying that abnormal lymph would cause cancer cells, or would cause or lead to cancers. And then in the 19th century, there was another development that cells originated from other cells, which meant that cancer also originated from other cells. So the origin of cancer was known that way, that it originated from the cells. And then in the 20th century, among so many of the other therapies that were developed, chemotherapy was one of them. So let's look at the cancer. So based on all the discoveries that have been made until this point, cancer is known to be abnormal growth cells. So cells, usually how our body works is when old cells die, new cells are replaced. But in the case of cancer, new cells just form without the old cells dying, which forms a mass that we call tumor, which was Hippocrates was referring to. And there are so many different types, like more than 100 types of cancers that are discovered by now. And some are benign and some are malignant. And the benign cells, the tumors, are not cancerous. The malignant are the ones that are cancerous. if it's benign, it's easier to control and treat. Malignant, it will spread rapidly throughout the body and it will be so hard to control. And that's kind of why people just go through chemotherapy to just at least try to control it. In some cases, it can cure, but it depends from case to case. Same with the symptoms. They don't all have the same symptoms. It's just dependent from case to case. And some of the therapies that they have discovered until now is surgery, chemotherapy, radiation, among others. Some, as I said, can be cured and some can't. And the surgery actually was based on, even back in the days, they used to do the fire drill thing that they call now. They called back in the days, they would just scrape it off and remove the cancerous cell during surgery. So as we can see, the cancer theory and cells started way back in the days, but it still kind of led us to the theory here. So thanks to Hippocrates and the other doctors that discovered this, we were able to do more research, and we can. It's still, there's so much to be known, and we'll still keep on doing our research. That's the end of the story for today. Thank you.